Orthodox?
Nope. We won't be talking about Orthodox for before them.
Hellenists?
The apostolic fathers?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's pause there.
The Padre Apostólico.
Are we on, Gerson?
Okay.
Okay, so welcome to the church history study. We've already prayed. So the first Christian theologians were the apostolic fathers.
Los primeros teológicos eran los padres apostólicos.
And they were the first ones who tried to interpret the writings of the apostles.
Porque
The
fueron
New
los
Testament writings.
primeros que intentaron hacer interpretación de la escritura de los apóstoles.
And what was their main task?
¿Y qué fue su tarea principal?
Protect the truth.
Proteger la verdad.
Okay, and so did they succeed?
Y ellos tenían éxito
Yes.
con eso, sí.
Yes, they did. And so some of them made theological statements, but they didn't go into deep theology. They were more involved in protecting the truth.
Entonces los padres apostólicos sí hicieron algunos como doctrina teológica, pero no lo han hecho mucho de doctrina.
One example of a theological statement was Ignatius said that the Lord's Supper is what? Do you guys remember what he said it was?
No de lo que dijo Irenaeus de la Santa Cena.
Celebration?
The medicine
La medicina
of immortality.
de inmortalidad.
And so the next theologian groups were the apologists, as Carrie already said.
Entonces la siguiente eran los apologistas.
And what were their tasks?
¿Y qué fue la tarea principal de los apologistas?
Defend the truth.
Defender la verdad.
To take the gospel securely from the apostolic fathers and defend it from all attacks.
Entonces tomar el evangelio con seguridad de los apóstoles y los padres apostólicos y defender
And so these two groups
el evangelio.
And so these two groups make up like the foundation of theology.
Entonces entre los you mean the apostolic fathers, entre los padres apostólicos y los apologistas son como la fundación de teología.
And so by the end of the 2nd century, going into the 3rd century now, we have the early theologians, the ones who are actually writing down theology.
Entonces por el final del segundo siglo ya tenemos los teológicos que ya están haciendo teología.
And it's them who we get our theology today from.
Y son ellos que traen teología hasta el día de hoy.
They basically built the structure of today's theology.
Porque ellos fueron lo que fundó y estableció la estructura de teología.
And the first systematic theologian was Irenaeus.
Y el primero de los teológicos era Ireneo.
And you could kind of say that Irenaeus fits all 3 categories.
Y Ireneo está por los 3 diferentes categorías de teológico.
So he was born in Smyrna,
Él nació en Esmirna,
which is in Asia Minor.
que está en Asia Menor.
And where's Asia Minor?
¿Y dónde está Asia Menor?
Turkey and Greece.
Turkey.
En Turquía.
And so, what is significant about Smyrna?
¿Y cuál era importante de Esmirna?
It's one of the churches, no? 7 churches.
Yeah, one of the 7
Era
churches
una
of
de las
what?
primeras iglesias de
Minor Asia.
Apocalipsis.
Of Apocalypse, of Revelation. So, Asia Minor is right here.
Asia Menor está por aquí.
And over here, we see Smyrna. This is a bigger
Y
picture of
aquí
Asia Minor. It's here.
está más como grande, más maximizado que Esmirna,
And here's
y
Ephesus.
cerca
This is
de
where
Éfeso.
John was the bishop.
donde estaba Juan el obispo.
So it's significant because this is one of the 7 churches that received one of the letters from Revelation.
Entonces era una de las 7 iglesias que recibió una carta en Apocalipsis.
And this is also where Polycarp, John's protege, was bishop. He was the bishop of Smyrna.
Donde también estaba Policarpo como obispo de Smyrna.
Now Irenaeus was born in the year 120.
Ireneo nació en el año 120
And he became Polycarp's disciple.
y él era discípulo de Policarpo.
And then Polycarp was the apostolic father of John.
Y Policarpo era el padre apostólico de Juan, porque Juan era su
So Polycarp
su-
protected the
su
truth
mentor.
and gave this truth to Irenaeus.
Entonces Policarpo estaba protegiendo la verdad que vino de Juan y lo ha dado a Ireneo.
And then Irenaeus became an elder first,
Y Ireneo era un anciano en el principio
and he was sent to Gaul.
y se lo envió a Gaul
Does
o
anybody know where Gaul
Galia.
is?
Galia.
Where?
Galia.
Going in gold.
Where's
Galia.
Gaul?
¿Dónde
It's,
está?
I think
¿Dónde está Galia?
it's a French-German border.
No, it says right there.
Gaul's right here, modern day France.
Eso es Gaul, que es Galia en español, y eso es donde está Francia en el día de hoy.
Basically, barbaric tribes. And so he
Era gente barbárica,
was sent here, but at this time it was the Roman Empire.
pero en esa época era el emperador romano.
And he was sent to Lyons, which is right here. How do you say that? In Leon?
Envió a
León.
Ireneo a León, que está por aquí,
Which is along this very important river that we're going to talk about in church history called the Rhine River.
está por el río importante en español, es Rodaño.
A lot of stuff takes place along the Rhine River.
Hay muchas cosas que suceden en el río Rodaño,
But we'll talk about that in a few hundred years.
pero vamos a ver eso en 200 años o algo.
But that's where Irenaeus was sent as an elder.
Entonces Ireneo fue enviado ahí como anciano.
So basically, he was trained up by Polycarp and then sent to Leon.
Entonces fue entrenado por Policarpo y ahí le envió a Galia.
And so he was like a superstar because he was just 2 generations away from John.
Entonces era como alguien muy importante, como un superstar, porque solo tenía 2 pasos hasta llegar a Apóstol Juan.
In the year 177, Marcus Aurelius unleashed a terrible persecution of the church in along the Rhine River in Gaul and in Leon.
En el año 177, el emperador Marcos Aurelius enseñó a la gente para perseguir una forma de persecución muy intensa y muy horrible por el río de Rodaño.
Thousands of Christians were killed,
Había miles de personas que fueron matadas,
including their bishop, Pontinus.
incluyendo a el obispo que era Potino.
He's not up there. You don't have to remember his name. So the Christians were tortured horribly in this area.
Entonces los cristianos fueron perseguidos en una forma horrible.
The preferred method was to stuff them all into a little building with no windows and suffocate them to death.
Lo que normalmente hicieron es poner todos los cristianos
What's that?
en una
Nazis
habitación
Mhm.
muy pequeño, sin ventana, hasta que todos fueron sofocados,
Asfixiados.
asfixiados.
And the other method that they liked to do was to take them and sew up the Christians in animal skins and put them out in the hot sun and kill them that way.
Y la otra forma de matar a ellos era para coser pieles de animales por su cuerpo y enviar a ellos a desierto hasta que murieron.
Irenaeus was the lucky one because he escaped the persecution, because during this persecution, before it took place, the bishop sent Irenaeus to Rome.
Entonces, antes de la persecución, lo que sucedió para Ireneo, que era un poco de buena suerte por la voluntad de Dios, que el obispo envió a Ireneo a Roma antes de esa persecución.
So while this persecution is happening, Irenaeus is in Rome. I don't even know if he knows that it's happening yet.
Entonces, mientras que toda la persecución está sucediendo, Ireneo estaba en Roma y no sabemos si él ni sabe de la persecución que está sucediendo.
But while he's in Rome, he discovers that another disciple of Polycarp, whose name is, what was his name? I forget his name, but another disciple of Polycarp had converted to Gnosticism.
Entonces, cuando estaba en Roma, Ireneo se dio cuenta que otro discípulo de Juan, no sabemos su nombre ahora, pero él se convirtió a ser gnóstico.
And this became known as this group of Gnostics became known as the Valentinus school of Gnosticism. It was the biggest form of Gnostics in the empire.
Esa secta de gnosticismo se llamaba de Valentín y era el grupo más grande en el emperador romano en esa época.
Of course, Irenaeus became very upset that another student of Polycarp became a Gnostic.
Entonces Ireneo estaba muy enfadado que otro discípulo de Juan se convirtió a ser gnóstico.
And not only that, when he returned back to Gaul, not only did he find out about how bad the persecution had been and that his bishop was dead, but all the Gnostics had gone there and started infiltrating the church there too.
Aparte de eso, para Ireneo era tan mal porque cuando se volvió a Galia se ha dado cuenta que su obispo ha sido matado y un montón de los cristianos por medio de la persecución, y aparte de eso que se fueron gnósticos para empezar a convertir la gente que quedaba.
And Irenaeus was more of a pastor, but when he got back, he was elected as the bishop.
Ireneo era más como un pastor, pero cuando llegaba, como que ya no era obispo, él fue elegido como obispo.
He was still a pastor, but now he had more responsibilities, and then he dedicated the rest of his life to defeating Gnosticism.
Era como un pastor todavía, pero con más responsabilidad de ser obispo, y la resto de su vida lo hizo una dedicación para vencer el gnosticismo.
Did anybody review the video on Gnosticism?
Había gente en el grupo que ha visto el video de gnosticismo.
Because we're not going to go back over what Gnosticism is.
Porque no vamos a repasar gnosticismo.
So his most famous work against the Gnostics is called Against Heresies.
Entonces su obra más importante de Ireneo contra de gnosticismo se llama Contra de gnosticismo.
It's no, Against Heresies.
Oh, lo siento, Contra de herejía.
And it's 5 volumes, so it's a very long work.
Son 5 volúmenes de una obra grande.
And he originally, he's from Smyrna, so he wrote his originals in Greek, but only the Latin translation survived today.
Él es de Esmirna y lo ha escrito todo en griego, pero es solamente la escritura que era en latín que sobrevivió hasta el día de hoy.
And this work was the most important work against the Gnostics of its day.
Eso era la obra más importante contra los gnósticos.
And so he spent years studying these Gnostic cults, and he studied over 20 varieties of them.
Entonces pasaba años estudiando gnosticismo, como 20 años, y estaba estudiando todas las diferentes sectas de gnosticismo.
And because he was a direct link from John, his work was seen as authoritative.
Y porque Ireneo era discípulo de Juan, tenía mucha autoridad con su obra.
And basically, his writings eventually led to the defeat of Gnosticism.
Y en el final, toda su escritura y sus obras llegaba a punto de vencer al gnosticismo.
And in the process of doing this, he also formulates the first systematic theology of God's redemption.
Y en el proceso de hacer esto, estaba formulando el primer doctrina, systematic theology, teología sistemática. De redención.
And so next week we're going to talk about, part 2 is going to be when we talk about his theology of redemption, but this week...
God's redemption.
Yeah, God's redemption of mankind. So he develops a theology of redemption.
Entonces él se ha creado una doctrina, is that the same doctrine we still have today, de la redención. Y nosotros vamos a repasar todo eso, vamos a aprender más de eso la semana que viene.
Today there are several theologies of God's redemption upon the world, but this Irenaeus is definitely the foundation.
Que hay mucha diferente doctrina de redención, pero Ireneo y su doctrina era la fundación.
And Irenaeus is most highly revered in the Eastern Orthodox tradition.
Y Ireneo era más como importante, revelado en la tradición ortodoxo este.
And so Irenaeus, some theologians from the Eastern Orthodox Church say all their life work is just footnotes of Irenaeus.
Entonces mucha gente que son de la iglesia ortodoxo este dice que todas sus obras son como notas a pie de la obra de Ireneo,
So that's how important he is.
que es tan importante sus obras.
Who's got questions so far
¿Alguien tiene preguntas?
or comments?
The persecution that went on when he was in Rome, who was persecuting them over in Gaul?
The Rome. Marcus Aurelius.
But Gaul and Britain were caveman stuff. I mean, it was nothing like persecution in Alexandria or wherever. They were
more commoner people, I guess, at this time.
I know for a fact from history. So preaching to them was kind of preaching to people who
were these Roman citizens at this time though? Because this is before the barbarians defeated Rome.
No, they weren't citizens.
Okay.
They weren't, because you had to earn your citizenship. So Rome was conquering these tribes, and I from history I know Gaul, England, they conquered the Druids and all this, and Gaul had Druids. So they were conquering them.
Well, they also conquered Galicia. That's where the tradition, so Gallia, the name Galicia comes from, is that the Gauls conquered them.
So I suppose what I think is it's amazing that Christianity was there. I didn't know that, because certainly they were pagans.
And somebody as important as Irenaeus was there.
That's kind of...
It wouldn't have been an easy ministry, though, because
This
they were barbarians.
France becomes a very important part of the church later on in history.
But they were pagans, proper pagans. They had Druids.
Most of the people in this time period, most of the common people throughout the Roman Empire were pagans. That was, pagan means folk religion. That's what it means literally. And so the folk religion of Rome was paganism during this time. So most of the commoners who were not Roman citizens but were conquered by the Rome, they were pagans, most of them. You want to translate that?
Que estuvimos hablando de Galia, como que fueron gente barbárico y que era muy difícil estar allí, pero también él está diciendo que casi toda la gente que no eran cristianos o judíos en esa época era gente barbárico, paganos, pero también que Galia era muy importante en esa época, pero también en la historia, porque ellos fueron a conquistar mucho de la tierra ahí.
Another work of Irenaeus is called The Proof of the Apostolic Preaching.
Otra obra de Ireneo se llama La Prueba de la Predicación Apostólica.
So this is like a short version of his 5-volume work. It's like a summary of it.
Entonces eso es más como cortito de el otro obra que era 5 libros. Eso es como un repaso.
So if you don't want to read a 5-volume set of books, I suggest you read the shorter version.
Entonces si no quiere leer 5 libros, se puede leer eso que es más cortito.
The purpose of this shorter version was to offer the Christians, the common Christians, the lay Christians, a writing that they could understand, that they could read, because the 5-volume work was for the church leaders, and this was for the everyday Christian to read.
Entonces el propósito de ese libro era para ofrecer algo a la gente que era más común entenderlo, porque de 5 libros era muy inteligente y era para los intelectuales, pero eso es más cortito, era por la gente común.
And this became the practice for the theologians later on in history. So the theologians, they would write a large work of their theology, and then they would write a small summary of it for the whole church.
Eso era práctica normal en esa época. Escribieron algo más grande, como libro más grande, con palabras más difíciles, y para la gente que era obispo y los líderes de la iglesia, y aparte ha hecho algo más pequeño para la gente para que se entienda la gente común.
And these works became known as enchiridion, or enchiridions.
Que esa obra en latín era, o en griego era enchiridion, pero en inglés dice enchiridion.
And so that word means dagger, little dagger.
Significa la daga.
But it also has another meaning, which means handbook.
Pero también el manual. manual.
And so these little daggers or these little handbooks became the tools of the common Christians. And
Entonces era como la daga, era como un instrumento importante para ellos.
so
libro.
one historian calls them weapons of spiritual warfare.
Entonces un estudioso se llama a eso armas de la guerra espiritual.
And so that's what the early theologians were trying to do. They were trying to arm the Christians with teaching, right?
Entonces los teológicos estaban intentando amar a la gente con enseñanza para prepararles.
Irenaeus died in another massacre of Christians in 202.
Ireneo murió en otro masacre de cristianos en el año 202.
Nobody knows exactly how he was martyred, but he was martyred.
Nadie sabe cómo fue matado, pero sí fue matado.
And today he's recognized as a saint in both the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic Church.
Entonces, pero está reconocido como un santo en el Romo católico, la iglesia, pero también en la iglesia ortodoxa.
But his biggest influence today remains in the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Pero su influencia más importante estaba en el ortodoxo este.
And after his death, a lot of his students went straight to the heart of Gnosticism. They went to Alexandria.
Y después que murió Ireneo, muchos de sus estudiantes se fueron a donde está el corazón de los gnósticos, que es Alejandría.
And for sure, probably Rome too.
Y probablemente Roma también.
So they continued his work of theology.
Pero estaban allí para continuar su obra de vencer los gnósticos, ¿no? Defender la fe.
But remember, primarily Irenaeus was not a philosopher. He was a pastor.
Pero él era más un pastor que un filósofo.
And he felt it was his pastoral duty to guard the flock from Gnosticism.
Y pensó que era su responsabilidad para guardar el evangelio contra de los gnósticos.
Does anybody have any questions or comments over that?
Do you not think God's pattern is quite interesting? Because it goes from the philosophers, and now you've got a pastor coming in. It's kind of, I think the chain is interesting, because God's saying, okay, we've done that, now we're doing this.
Right.
So
He's building, God's building upon...
building upon the people, but each person is different. It's fascinating.
Each time was God had a purpose in each time.
I think it's fascinating.
Sorry, I missed the name of the first book that he...
Against heresies.
Oh, that's the...
Yeah.
And then the second one, which was the smaller
That's
book.
called The Proof of Apostolic Preaching.
Preaching. Teaching.
It's interesting too how H was talking about that, because it wasn't just people that he just placed there. It was like these intellectual people
Massively placed,
or pastoral. Like one was a philosopher, then one was a pastor, but they had these
And why
like
didn't he place
great-
the pastor first?
Yeah.
Why did he use the people
There
from
were still-
Plato first? Because that was the
That was what was happening
what was
at that
happening,
time.
So he used them first. Then he put in a pastor. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fascinating.
But keep in mind, we had pastors all along. We had
Yeah, for
pastors.
sure.
Yeah.
Who were the ones?
The main-
But
yeah,
the
right,
important
right.
people, it was like placed at the right time. Yeah.
You know?
So right now I want to turn to his approach and how Irenaeus defeated the Gnostics.
¿Y cómo es que Ireneo venció los gnósticos?
We know that a part of him being able to defeat the Gnostics was because of how close he was to the Apostle John.
Sabemos que un parte de su éxito era porque era un discípulo de Juan.
Just 2 generations away.
Bueno, 2
You
generaciones.
can see it here.
Policarpo.
John dies in 100, Polycarp dies in 155, and Irenaeus dies in 202.
Se puede ver que Juan murió en el año 100 y algo, o 100, y Policarpo 155 y Ireneo en 202.
I don't know
Las
when Polycarp was born, sorry.
de discípulos.
So, Irenaeus wanted to expose Gnosticism as a fraud.
Ireneo quería iluminar que gnosticismo era una herejía.
And so he spent, like I said, his whole life, he spent years studying the Gnostics, and he spent especially the Valentinian form of Gnosticism, which was the main form of Gnosticism.
Entonces pasó años estudiando gnosticismo y especialmente el grupo de Valentín, que era un grupo más grande.
And it was centered in Rome by a man named Ptolemaeus. And so that's the guy's name.
Entonces en la escuela, the disciple of John,
Yeah.
que había una escuela de gnosticismo que era el discípulo de Juan también y se llamaba el hombre en español Ptolomeo.
And so he focused on this school because Irenaeus knew that if this school would fall, so would the rest of them.
Entonces estaba enfocándose por esa escuela porque sabía Ireneo si se destruye esa escuela, que todas las demás escuelas seguramente que pasaría igual.
And so he had a threefold approach to defeating them.
Entonces tenían tres formas de vencer por ellos.
The first thing is something that H said when we talked about Gnosticism, how ridiculous it was and how absurd the ideas were.
Su primera estrategia era para enseñar que el gnosticismo es un ridículo, que es una barbaridad.
And talking about how none of these teachings were based upon the writings of the apostles or of Jesus.
Y que hablaba de cómo esa enseñanza no era de los apóstoles ni de Jesús.
He pointed out that all these writings were so contradictory too.
Que ha dicho que también entre la escritura de gnosticismo había mucha contradicción.
You have so many different groups of Gnostics. You have so many ideas. Even within certain schools, you have contradictions.
Que había
What's true?
tantas diferentes ideas y entre la misma escuela había ideas de contradicción. Entonces, ¿cómo puedes saber cuál es la verdad?
And so, secondly, he argued that the secret teachings of the Gnostics that their teachings went back to the apostles was completely false.
Y la segunda estrategia de él era para enseñar que todo lo que ellos han dicho de su enseñanza llegando desde los apóstoles era completamente incorrecto.
See, the Gnostics taught that their teachings came from the apostles.
Porque los gnósticos enseñaban que su enseñanzas vinieron de los apóstoles.
So how do you think Irenaeus was able to defeat using this argument?
Entonces,
What
con
argument
esa-
did he use?
con
How
esa
did he present this argument?
estrategia, ¿cómo se presentó a su discusión de los apóstoles?
How could he prove that they did not get their secret teachings from the apostles?
Because he was the second generation.
What the secret teaching?
Yeah, the Gnostics held these secret teachings
Everything
that they
was
got
secret.
from as a secret club.
But they had Colossians, which was against.
Yeah.
So if they had access.
So how did he prove that there were no secret teachings of the apostles?
Because he was discipled by Polycarp, who was discipled by John,
So,
and John would have told them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, with his own authority to being a direct disciple of Polycarp, who was a direct disciple of John, Irenaeus knew that he had a special authority within the church through apostolic succession.
Que Ireneo tenía mucha autoridad porque era discípulo de Policarpo y Policarpo era discípulo de Juan. Entonces Juan iba a decir a Policarpo si había algo de enseñanza secreto, de gnosticismo. Entonces Ireneo tenía esa autoridad de decir que no está diciendo la verdad.
And so many of the Gnostic groups were teaching that their secret knowledge, some of their secret knowledge came from the Apostle John.
Y muchos de los gnósticos estaban enseñando que su enseñanza secreta vino del apóstol
They
Juan.
said this is a secret oral tradition that was passed down.
Es una
to them.
tradición secreto que lo ha pasado a las generaciones.
But it's destroyed by Paul's letters.
What's that?
The whole thing is destroyed by Paul's letters.
We'll get to that next.
Okay.
So Irenaeus said, not so fast.
Entonces, Ireneo ha dicho, no podríamos decirlo eso ahora.
If Jesus had passed on some secret knowledge to John, John would have passed it on to Polycarp, and Polycarp would have passed it on to me. And I don't know any secret teachings.
Que diciendo que si Policarpo iba a pasar información a él, que también Policarpo iba a recibir esa información directamente de Juan, y no hay ninguno de esos secretos que lo ha pasado a
Isn't it
nosotros.
strange that none of the other apostolic fathers received secret knowledge from the apostles?
¿Y tú no crees que es un poco raro que los demás padres apostólicos, discípulos de los apóstoles, tampoco recibieron secretos?
And you only need one apostle to say, I have some secret knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no one.
Mm-mm. And so this was, in my opinion, this is Irenaeus' best argument.
Entonces es una de sus estrategias que son los mejores en su opinión para usar esa estrategia.
This is why apostolic succession was so important
Y
in this
eso
time
es
period.
porque la sucesión apostólica era tan importante.
And so third, he debated the Gnostics using scripture showing that their teachings were not sound according to the writings of the apostles.
Entonces también
Just like H said.
discutió con los gnósticos diciendo que los apóstoles, la enseñanza de los apóstoles no ha dicho nada de eso.
So a lot of these Gnostics love John. No, we get all these secret knowledge, and so he uses John against them. For example, he uses John 1:3 against them.
Entonces él usaba la escritura de Juan para defender sus puntos, y uno era Juan capítulo 1 versículo 3.
Can somebody read John 1:3?
Si alguien puede leer el Juan capítulo 1 versículo 3.
While you're looking that up, the Gnostics taught that Father God did not create this universe, this world. Remember, this world was created by a lesser evil demigod.
Recuérdate que los gnósticos creían que no era el Padre que era el creador del mundo, que era un Dios demi que creó el mundo.
Somebody want to read that? John?
¿Alguien se puede leer Juan 1:3?
All things are made for him. Without him, nothing was made that has been made.
Christian, you
Que
want to
por
read that
medio
for
de todas las cosas fueron creadas, sin él nada de lo creado llegó a existir.
Doesn't that just destroy that whole argument right there?
Entonces esos versículos se pueden destruir, esa discusión de cómo que no fue creado con Cristo.
But remember, there is no New Testament at this point.
Pero no había Nuevo Testamento en esa época todavía.
But you better believe that Irenaeus had a copy of John.
Pero es seguro que Ireneo tenía una copia de Juan.
Yeah, the writings existed, but
Porque había la escritura, pero no tenía la Biblia completa.
so he uses John against them.
Entonces Ireneo usó la escritura de Juan contra de ellos.
That's just one example. So he goes through different
Eso es
scriptures.
solo un ejemplo.
I was just going to ask, why did the Gnostics like John?
Because they claim that some of their secret oral tradition came from him.
Why him?
They had other apostles too, but John and Thomas and some of the others were bigger.
Uh-huh.
Mary, Magdalene,
Oh, they were dead.
Which is in the Apocrypha.
they were all
They
dead.
were all dead.
Yeah.
Which
So you couldn't go ask them and say, "Hey, do you guys?"
Did
you know this guy?
And I also think, I mean, I suppose it's why you have to rely on the Gospel, because it doesn't. The only Gospel I can think of that says anything about a secret is Revelation. Because there's a secret
Mm-hmm.
in Revelation that we don't know.
Right.
But all the other Gospels, there's no secret.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying there's a secret you don't know that we're going to tell you about.
And remember, the Gnostics were secret societies. They were secret groups of elitist Christians, of intellectual Christians.
que eran sociedades secretos. Do you think maybe they might have been drawn to John because they had some copies of Revelation at the time, and because maybe that seemed like
Revelation
more
does have a
mystical?
secret in it. It
Yeah.
says it. I remember you teaching on it. There was something, wasn't there, that you don't know what's in it.
I think they were attracted to John because the leader of this Valentinius group was one of Polycarp's disciples.
That too.
I always remember it. There's
Yeah.
something.
Okay,
And remember, John fought against the Gnostics when he was alive. Remember Cerinthus, the Gnostic guy? The Proto-Gnostics.
Que Juan sí mismo estaba contra de los gnósticos que eran en esa época proto-gnósticos.
Another argument that Irenaeus made was that it was the Gnostics who were the schismatics. It was the Gnostics who were trying to divide the church.
Que Ireneo también estaba iluminando que eran los gnósticos que estaban intentando dividir la iglesia.
And so the church is one. The church is unified. It's Catholic and it's ecumenical under the authority of the bishops in the line of apostolic succession.
Porque ahora mismo la iglesia está solamente una iglesia católico como universal y estaba debajo de los obispos que eran de la sucesión apostólica.
And it's the Gnostics who are trying to destroy that
Y
unity.
son los gnósticos que están intentando destruir la iglesia como es.
And this was established by the apostles.
Y eso fue establecido por los apóstoles.
And so one historian calls the Gnostics parasites on the church.
Entonces uno de los estudiosos le dice a los gnósticos como parásitos.
And this was a death blow to Gnosticism because obviously it was the apostles who established the bishops, who then the bishops established apostolic succession. This was a death blow because there is no secret knowledge.
Entonces,
There is none. Game over.
que eso era como la golpe mortal de los gnósticos diciendo que eran los apóstoles que estableció la iglesia y la iglesia estableció la sucesión apostólica. Entonces la iglesia como es como los apóstoles querían. Entonces ya la golpe mortal o el juego terminado.
The only argument I would say is that God did establish some secretism in the Old Testament. And so he did Moses, secret. Let's go on the mountain and have a chat.
Well, there are different.
And there's many things
Yeah.
he did. The ark, only a bishop, only a high priest can go in, touch the ark, you're dead. And so God did establish Noah and all the secretism. So God did establish that, I can tell you. And I just feel that if you were going into the new world after Jesus, some people would say, no, God, well, we Catholics, the Pope is closer to God than anyone, apparently. And so it has kept going a little bit. You know?
There are some traces of it still.
There's traces of it. That's
And
true.
Gnosticism still exists today. There's still Gnostics today.
What about the Masons? Do they have anything to do with it?
Well, I mean, there's some Gnostic ideas in
There are
Masonic.
Gnostic ideas. There are Gnostic
But they're a
ideas.
secret society. I mean, all secret societies
Secrets.
are. Yeah.
But I do think God had something to do with some secrets.
Yeah, God revealed things to certain people that he didn't reveal, that wasn't for everybody. But he always speaks against secret societies in the Bible. Secret societies are said, do not be a part of secret societies in the Old Testament. Paul says it in the New Testament. You know, it's not there's a difference between don't tell anybody this, I'm revealing this to you, versus let's form a secret group of people.
And I'm also thinking that the Bible, certainly in England, was only in Latin because it was meant to be a secret.
Yeah, well, they didn't want the common people to have it.
Common people to have it. So that was a huge.
There's a lot of elitism. There's still elitism in the church today, you know.
Que hablando de las sociedades secretas como Masón y otras sociedades secretas, que eso no es nunca lo que Dios quería como sociedad secreta. Había momentos en la Biblia que Dios ha revelado a sí mismo una forma distinta, como a Moisés, que no era por toda la gente, pero eso es otra cosa distinta, no es información secreta o sociedades secretas.
And these mysteries or secrets that God reveals to certain people, it has never anything to do with their salvation.
No.
You know. These are just
que la
mysteries.
revelación de Dios a Moisés y a los demás, a Noé y eso, no tenía que ver con su salvación o la salvación de los demás.
Now, Irenaeus' work, if you read it, it's really complex. It's really hard to read because Gnosticism is complex, and he's fighting a complex system.
Sus obras y escritura de Ireneo son muy complicados y es difícil leerlo porque el gnosticismo también era una idea complicada.
But if you get through the complexity of it, there are times when Irenaeus is just absolutely funny. Everything is just hilarious, and he's very sarcastic at times.
Que
So
mientras que estás
there is some humor
leyéndolo,
in
si
there.
puedes aguantarlo, leyéndolo, que llegas a punto que eres muy gracioso y muy sarcástico como lo escribe.
But his work eventually led to the downfall of Gnosticism as being a main threat to the church.
Entonces era bueno que su obra en el final era vencer al gnosticismo como una amenaza a la iglesia.
And because slowly after his death, his students started going throughout the kingdom and dealing with this threat. This was a serious threat to the church.
Porque después de su muerte había todos sus estudiantes que también se fueron a también vencer el gnosticismo.
Because the Gnostics almost won.
Porque los gnósticos estaban casi a ganar.
But thankfully, God raised up men like
Pero
Irenaeus.
gracias a Dios que se levantó a ese hombre Ireneo para vencerlo.
So this is where we're going to stop today. We'll read the questions here in a minute and shut off the video. Next week, we're going to talk about Irenaeus' view of redemption.
Entonces vamos a leer las preguntas y terminar con el video. Pero la semana que viene vamos a hablar más de la doctrina de redención de Ireneo.
Does anybody have any questions or comments over
¿Alguien
what we
tiene
talked about today?
preguntas o comentarios de esto?
So here are the questions and we'll shut off the video.
Aquí están las preguntas.
In your opinion, why was Irenaeus so successful in tearing down Gnosticism?
En tu opinión, ¿por qué Ireneo tenía tanto éxito de destruir gnosticismo?
Number 2, if the church had not been so unified under the authority of the bishops, would Christianity look different today? How and why?
Si la iglesia no fuera tan unido debajo de la autoridad de los obispos, ¿cómo sería el cristianismo diferente en el día de hoy?
And then the third is just an open floor discussion.
Y el último es para que tú abres espacio para comentarios y preguntas en tu grupo.
All right, see you next week.
Hasta luego.